Welcome to the 2023 Tire Rack One Lap of America presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine. I am here with a good friend, Steve Byington, who works with Toyota PE and a lot of those really cool cars that you see running around the one lap every year. Steve's been a good friend for a number of years, and they've always had a really good effort. So, Steve, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about what you're planning for this year and maybe a little bit about what you've done in the past first.
Hey everybody, Steve Byington, Toyota PE Motorsports. We are a dedicated group of engineers that work for Toyota, all in various roles and aspects of engineering. Everybody's a little bit different. Most people are from different groups, all within Toyota, from electrical engineers to mechanical to equipment. So we get a really diverse background of people for our group. I think I looked it up, and this should be our ninth year for several of us this time to do one lap of America. So we're about to be regulars, to say the least, I guess. Still nowhere near with a lot of people, but we're getting there. For this year, we are planning three cars. The first one is the Supra, and we've done a lot of continuous testing and development on that car. And our target for that car this year is to be a top five. The second car we're bringing is a brand new Toyota 86. We've actually only had this car about 3 weeks now. We tested with it 2 weeks ago at NCM. We're just doing some basic bolt-ons, some aero, some brakes, and things like that. And our target for that car is to be top 20. And then, as most people recognize, we're bringing our old faithful Toyota Camry. That car's been around for quite a few years now. We got a lot of development, and I know Solomon, you've even had a few laps in it over the years too, and it surprises a lot of people, and it turns out to be quite a fun little car.
Sure. I think my favorite is still the Avalon because man, that thing was a blast. It's just you didn't think that it could do what it could do, and as you're driving it, you're saying it shouldn't do this. I think what I was most impressed with on that one were the brakes because I think I ran that around Gingerman for about what 25 minutes or so, and I mean I was braking later in that than I was in my car, so it was pretty phenomenal. Great car. I still
We
ask you guys to drop it off one day.
we still have that car. We campaigned it in the spring barber race. We've done a couple of lemons races with it now, so we're utilizing it in that function. And man, it's a fantastic lemons car. So we're still enjoying it, and it's still taking a beating and keeps on going.
And I think that's sort of what's neat about your effort as a whole because you're not yes, I mean some of the cars are fairly stripped out and really rearing to go, but mechanically, apart from what you're doing development on, it really is what you pull off of a showroom floor and go run for the most part.
Yeah, so one of the challenges from our management group and executive group is everything we run, we focus on something that's readily available in the Toyota wheelhouse. So, the last couple of years we started picking up with Supras and things like that. But up until that point, it was the Avalon, the Camry. We had a first gen FRS for a while. So it's basically stuff that we take that you can buy every single day, and then what we can do with it and develop it. And it's may not necessarily be the perfect platform for a race car, but we just like to show what we can do and skill set and come up with ideas and turn it into something that's kind of catch people's eyes.
Well, and forgetting about the sedans for a minute and the sports cars, I mean, you guys have legitimately tracked, I think, pretty much your whole lineup. I mean, I know in some other parts of the world, you guys are running what a Sequoia, I think, or a Tundra as well in some off-road stuff, right? What Becky, I think, was running that one.
Yeah, so it's kind of a neat deal. We've kind of diversified even our motorsports a little bit more now, and we started focusing on other adventures, and one of those being is Rebel Rally. And for those that don't know, Rebel Rally is a timed competition out in the desert for a week-long event. Basically, they get a map and a compass and no phones, no guidance, no anything else. And they have to navigate to checkpoints and find things in the desert within a certain time frame. And the neat thing about that, it is all women. So we started off 2 years ago. We did one entrance. Last year, I think we did two trucks.
Hmm.
And this year, we are going to do six. So we continue
Wow.
to step that up. It's
Wow.
really neat to see women coming along in Toyota as well as motorsports.
Yep.
So it's this neat little group that's developing within our group to showcase women and their skill sets that go with it.
So any of the stereotypes about women getting lost, I mean, you literally have a map and a desert in front of you, and you got to kind of figure out and orienteer your way around. So, great job. And that was fun to watch. I enjoyed watching all the updates from that. But not only that, I mean, you guys have gone as far as taking minivans out. I know Honda's done it in the past, but you guys as well have had a pretty big effort with the stock Sienna, if I'm not mistaken, as well as the really well prepared one, right?
Yes, that one was a couple of years ago. We
Yep.
had veteran driver Craig Stanton in it, and he managed to turn the top 20 in the one lap event off of a minivan, which it was thoroughly enjoying. Everybody get to see him do that, and he's an impressive driver in his own right too. So that makes a help with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's something very unique and oddly disturbing about seeing a minivan do those types of things on a racetrack. But I mean, that's sort of part of the course for our event. We've got all sorts of crazy stuff every year. We've got the real serious hardcore stuff and the stuff that really performs well that you're not expecting and just kind of surprises you. So always fun to see. What I guess what's been the biggest challenge getting ready so far for this year? We're still a few weeks out, and if social media doesn't lie, which it never does, right? I happen to notice Andrew saying that some of the cars weren't quite together yet. So how's that effort coming? And what are some of the challenges that you're running into now?
We've been trying to do some testing and get ready, and we've had several weekends where we went somewhere and we've learned a lot of things and found a lot of things. So yeah, it's a lot going on. A lot of still development, a lot of tuning and changes to things. We should be pretty close. I think next weekend we should have one more final test event to confirm all the cars. But even for the 86, like I said, we just got it 3 weeks ago, so we're busy developing splitters and wings and 3D printing aero. That's one of our benefits. We joke and call it the largest Etsy shop ever. We have access to multiple 3D printers, to water jet machines, milling machines, lathes, 5-axis CNCs, pretty much everything we would need for just a big giant shop. So we can try things and go in there, test things and develop things and see what works and see what doesn't work. So we're able to quickly adapt and modify things as needed. And like 2 weeks ago, we were at NCM. We learned a lot of aero on the 86 that was brand new. So, like I said, we're 3D printing things right now, and we'll test it here in another week or so and see how it did.
Okay, I got a challenge for you. So, as we spoke about earlier today, when we were doing a conversation with Steve Loudon, he had asked what I'm taking this year, and we let the cat out of the bag that I'm going to be in our in tour bus, so in the RV this year, along with Brian and maybe a couple other surprise guests. We'll get to that in time, but I don't have zero arrow on this thing, so I think it'd be great if you guys want to print up a splitter maybe something cool that we could throw on there. I think that'd be perfect.
You give me some dimensions, and we'll make something happen.
All right, we're gonna do this. It's gonna be
We've
the
got some extra.
coolest art.
We've got some pieces of stuff laying around. We can water jet something out pretty quick for you.
All right, I'll get that for you. So obviously the challenges with the new vehicle, trying all the aero, and obviously it's a truncated time period. I mean, 3 weeks effectively to hone in aero is not a lot, and as well as I do, it's one of those things where it's you start off with big changes and see one direction, see if it works, the other direction, see if it works, and then fine tune it there. So I mean, not having that many test days, are you concerned at all about the performance, or do you guys think you have it dialed in or getting there?
uh, for the 86, it was kind of interesting. We received some arrow from one of our big helpers, and that's Varus. We work pretty closely with them, and it's something that was a brand new product for them. We tried it at the track, and they had told us it was pretty conservative. So actually, we ran it for a day at the track, and then decided it needed more front downforce.
Mhm.
And so we made a flying trip to Home Depot and picked up some lumber and some Lexan, and in a couple hours fabbed up a modification to it, and then took it back on the track, and it made a huge difference in the balance of the car. So from that car alone, we feel like we've got a pretty good handle on the balance of it. Um, But of course, we'll see how it shakes out, and then during the whole week, we'll be testing and changing and trying to get a little bit more out of it as it goes along. We plan on keeping this car for several years, so it'll give a chance to show everybody what we can develop this car into from first year, just
Mhm.
basic bolt-on stuffs, to maybe in the future coilover suspension and things like that that goes with it. And
Nice.
the Supra, it's been several years of heavy development, so that car's been shaken down quite a bit, and it's got a lot of development time, and we feel like this could potentially be our year with it. So we've got high expectations for the Supra this year.
Yeah, so talking about that for a minute, I mean, Andrew drove that car really, really well last year, well prepared car. And Andrew, again, did a lot of driving. And it's been fun watching him because, when he started off, well, we all know what happened, what went on there in terms of all the fun stickers and everything else. But it's been fun to watch him grow and progress both, as he's been getting older and becoming a better driver and really coming into his own. And also congrats to him and his family because they're also expanding, right? So
Yep.
we're looking forward to seeing him out and see how he performs this year. And you have Kirk as well. I imagine coming back. So a
Yep.
good
So
roster for sure.
Andrew will be in the 86, or I'm sorry, Andrew will be in the Supra, and he does have number two on the way. So that whole family is expanding, and they're excited about it. And when he first started driving, it was Lemon's car, so we were seeing 100 mile an hour, and now he's seeing 160 mile an hour in that car. It's a huge progression of developmental skill for that one. And then Kirk and I will be in the 86 this year. Kirk's history comes from dirt track racing. He grew up in California, and when he was an early teen, him and his family basically went full time racing, and they moved to Indiana. So for 6 or 7 years there, that's all they did. So um, both of them are really good drivers, but both of them like cars set up completely different because Kirk likes things loose, just
Yeah.
because of his background, and
Yeah.
it's hard for them to get in the same car because the setups are so completely different between the two of them.
And that's evident because I think just about every year we have pictures of that splitter collecting lots and lots of grass at some point. So Kirk, maybe try to minimize the landscaping. We're not a barber this year, so you should be happy. But there are a few places like Nelson, which is going to have some pretty high grass. So let's be careful.
Yeah, our intent is to test at Nelson in another week or so. There's a track day there, and I suspect when we go there, there's going to be quite a few one lappers there. If I had to take a stab at it, some people getting some final shakedown runs in it. So we'll see who else is there and see what we can't pick up from that one.
I think the 86 is built for that track. I mean that really I think will show its strengths pretty well there.
It's a super fun little car, and we have a lot of people already asking, like, and documenting the changes and what we're gaining out of it, and it seems to have this great following. People for a relatively inexpensive car that you can daily drive, but still take to the track and have a good time with. So it's got this neat little niche that is filling a lot of gaps that people are looking for.
Well, and Joe Casella, who runs NASA Northeast, and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's great because not only that, but when you buy the performance versions of these, you get a NASA membership, right? And
Correct.
NASA, obviously, our sanctioning body and who's been great to us for so many years. But yeah, I mean, you see a ton of them out there now, and add a bunch of NASA events. So I think it's doing a great thing for the motorsport world in general and introducing people to tracks and to proper driving and to learning to get them off of the street necessarily. So yeah, very cool
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it's a cool thing. Yeah, one of our focuses is next generation of engineers and co-ops, and we kind of now use our PE Motorsports as a recruiting tool for co-ops interested in coming to working for a semester or so at Toyota. Um, and throughout the years, we kind of keep track of it. We've hired about 25 full-time engineers now that have came through motorsports as a co-op. And this year we have 22 co-ops alone, um, in motorsports that have actively came and said we came to Toyota to be on the motorsports team. And what's even more fantastic is about 14ish or so of them are females. And we're getting a lot of female interested in the STEM program. and then we're able to find that next generation of engineers that's going to be great for Toyota and that are true car people.
Mhm.
So we have several that are really, really good this year, and our plan is for our media van, we're going to bring several of them along so they can kind of experience it and see what it's about. And
Awesome.
they've been putting a lot of hard work into the shop and get to reap the benefits and have some fun with it.
Well, we'll be sure to catch up with them on the event. You and I can sit down with them and kind of introduce them to some of the wacky people and some of
Yeah.
the those following along, which are equally as wacky, who might not be doing the event this year. Um, so, talk to me a minute about some of your sponsors or any of the charities that you're working with. So, who's supporting you, and vis-a-vis, who are you supporting this year?
So one of our a couple of our big supporters that we've worked pretty in depth with, like I said, Varus Engineering. Um, Counter Space Garage has been doing a lot of support for the super tuning, and as well as some of their aftermarket stuff, which has trickled over into the 86 also. So those are two of the big ones that we really work with and help develop these cars. And when we give them feedback, it allows them to push it out to their customers and say, hey, this works. We tried it. We've done a lot of testing with this. So it kind of benefits everybody from this. And then internally, we have a lot of different things that we focus on and function with through PE, which stands for production engineering. It's a catch group of all the engineering headquarters for us. So a lot of different functions within that we help support and share, and then give our feedback within those groups too, so that they can utilize what we do as well.
Nice. Okay, so obviously this year we have no returning championship cars. So there's not any cars here that have won the event before this year. So it's anybody's game. Now, obviously, Tom O'Gorman's back just with a different, car and a Porsche this year. Steve Loudon is in a Durango. Um, I mean, who do you think is gonna be some competition this year?
So I think I thought about this today, and you'll remember this well too. Is it's kind of interesting, and some people agree with it, and some people disagree with it. Is the advancement of electric vehicles? Um, I think it was like I can't remember totally. It was like probably 6 or 7 years ago where Catesby broke,
Yep.
and he picked up a Tesla and
That's
then
somewhat
tried to
point.
yeah, and
Yep.
he tried to complete the one lap with it, and the infrastructure just wasn't there to be able to do it. Like he tried
And
it and it just couldn't work.
and the car couldn't get past 2 laps.
Right.
Right.
And last year there was a plaid there that just completely opened everybody's eyes. And I think it had some overall daily wins.
Yep.
Um,
In
man,
the rain.
I think that car is going to be a weapon this year because I'm sure he's learned from it and he's made some advancements on it. And I'm really interested to see what that car will do against all the other big hitters.
And it's interesting you say that because obviously talking with Steve Pryor, that was also, I mean, the way that we have, I'm hoping Andy will do well this year because God, he's been trying and trying. He started with that CRX, did great, and from there afterwards the GTR, the Cayenne, and then all the different McLaren that he's had over the years have just sort of vaulted him down a bit, pushed him down a bit. He still needs to go back to the CRX, but I just saw on his update today that now they have to replace the whole motor. And
On the
goodness knows,
McLaren,
yeah. So it was
oh,
initially was an alternator, and they said, okay, here's your alternator, but we think that the bigger issue is the engine that we need to replace now. So who knows what the story is going to be? Is it
wow.
going to be over before it starts? I know he's going to try everything he can to get out there, but you're absolutely right with Team PGR, Andrew DeKonig, and those guys. I mean, it was at Hallett. It was tremendous in the wet. And that day, obviously, last year was just a deluge all day long, and we had the red flag for quite some time. And then again at Putnam, he watching that
Yeah,
car
that
come
was the
on and dump
beast of
onto the front
Putnam.
straight. Yeah, dump onto the front straight in the wet, and you see the whole car sliding, and then it just sort of pulls it right in line and goes was astounding. So That car's got some real neat technical wizardry and well driven and well prepared. So I agree, it's going to be interesting to see what they do this year.
Yeah, like it or love it, it's going to be interesting to watch and see. So it's I'm kind of looking forward to that one. I think that's going to be a good battle too.
Well, here's just a quick non sequitur. So obviously, Toyota deals with electrification on the hybrid front primarily, but you do have, I think, what, one fully electric or hydrogen model, I guess, out in California now, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So what's your take on tracks such as Summit Point who have banned electric vehicles altogether? Obviously, because the hazards that go along with it in the event of a crash or of a fire with them. What from a company? How do you guys view this?
Yeah, that's interesting. We are putting in a fully brand new plant in the Carolinas. That's going to be a BEV plant for us. So we are adapting and bringing electric vehicles to the forefront. Um, it's and I was talking about this with a drag racing buddy the other day about you see these Teslas show up at the drag strip and just are ruthless on the drag strip, but having the safety and the training to come along with it to deal with it is kind of an interesting challenge, and you see that one start to develop too. And I think more and more tracks are starting to do the training and learn how to address the scenario. So safety is obviously the biggest concern, and it's Toyota's number one thing too. So as we continue to develop and test, and this is always one of the forefront for us, of how we deal with that in the future and make sure that there's no issues when we launch something.
Nice. Well, curious to see how that goes and sort of other tracks that might follow. And maybe it is going to be have to be something where manufacturers are sort of having an educational kit for the tracks that they can hand over to them, particularly ones that are more performance oriented. So we'll see where that goes. All right. So let's finish off with a couple good questions. What's the number one thing you're looking forward to this year? And then talk to us about, I guess, your best memory on any of the one laps that you've done so far.
I guess the number one thing I look forward to is that it's it's the most interesting thing because it's a whole week of people that would probably more than likely never cross paths, but for that one week, everybody comes together and nobody cares what your social status is, your economic status, who you are, if you're a celebrity or not, if you got a $500,000 car or a $5,000 car, we're all the same, and everybody is just one big family and gets to hang out for a whole entire week. Um, Reg is from Canada, is one of my favorite people. He's Mr. Grumpy all the time, but man, I will stand beside that dude and laugh at him all day long. And there's just so many people you've met over the years that you don't see them for a year, but as soon as you see them, you just pick right back up where you left from like the last day you saw them, and just it's a whole week of that, and it's just kind of one of my favorite things to look forward to. And I freely admit I'm typically a hotel snob. I travel quite a bit for work, but it's the one time a year that I'm okay staying at some of the, the most questionable places because everybody else stays there too, and it's okay, and that's just part of the overall experience of it. Um,
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about I was trying to think of like top three memories over the years that just comes immediately to mind, and I guess the tornado was probably a big one that a lot of people remember. There was
Which
some
one?
people. I think it was Scott that lost the Corvette that year that floated
Uh,
away,
the
and
one that went through Norman, Oklahoma, as
yeah,
we were leaving
we
Texas, heading
were
up to
we were
Hallett. Yeah.
yeah. Some of us were in front of it, and some of us were behind it. Um, and I guess my first one lap, my we were going to High Plains, and it was really, really late in the middle of the night, and it was just that area where there was nothing but windmill farms, and my teammate was asleep, so it was just me. And I remember driving down the interstate and seeing this guy with a pink speedo and roller skates on in the middle of the lane, roller skating down the interstate, and I could have swore that I was just delusional and asleep. And then we all get to the hotel, and there was like 4 or 5 other people that saw it too. I was like, okay, so it wasn't just me,
I
completely
find it
delusional
crazy
on
that
that
you
one.
allowed Andrew to do that, but hey, it is what it is. But it's cool.
Yeah.
Uh, But yeah, I mean, there's always real interesting stories. There's always interesting memories that that everybody picks up. And yeah, the tornadoes are terrifying without any question. We've been through a few, and we can relive some of those stories at another time. But yeah, that is legitimately, if you've never been through them, I mean, I remember going through that storm. It was We were in the Durango and the Challenger, and yeah, that was very Mike Musto and I. Mike was driving the Challenger. I was in the Durango, and we got to our hotel at Hallett, and we just looked at each other, and we were like, we felt like we just went 12 rounds with a gorilla. I mean, our whole body was just so tense from being on the lookout and pouring rain and sirens going off everywhere and seeing the damage that had just occurred and hearing cadaver dogs being brought in. It's a gnarly thing, for sure.
Yeah, it's dependent on the route. It's you can get 4 seasons in a week. We've seen
Oh yeah.
snow before. We've seen, like I said, tornadoes. We've seen rain. We've seen 100-degree days, and that's just part of the game. How do you adapt, and how do you make your equipment work the best that you can, and how do you change it and get the best out of it? So it's just kind of part of the challenge that comes with it to make it exciting.
Making it to the end, right?
Making it to
Yeah.
an end. That's the goal in itself.
Yeah.
For everybody to make it and show back up at the hotel on the last day and sit around and laugh and tell stories.
Yep. Well, speaking of the end, I think that brings us to the end of our time today. Do you guys have any specific streams you're going to be doing apart from what we're doing with the live stream? But where can people find your team, your effort, and what you're doing? Where's the best place?
So our team, you can find us on Facebook or Instagram. It's a Toyota PE Motorsports. During the one lap event, we will be doing live various interviews and updates throughout the whole experience. So everybody give us a follow. If you look on it now, we've got everything we have going on for final prep and build, and you can see pictures and what we have happening in the shop, as well as future things for the Rebel Rally and things like that. So like us, give us a look, and give us a comment or ask a question if you got anything.
Nice. Well, Steve, thanks so much for making the time to be with us today and educate everybody a little bit more about your effort, what you're doing, and the guys on your team. We look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. And are you going to continue the bad dad jokes with Brian this year?
I am. I'm taking into account that Brian's stepping up his game this year, so I can honestly say I have stepped up my game to a new level. So I feel like it's going to be an interesting week between he and I. So I'm preparing for it.
Would you like to leave us with one before as we finish off here?
So
On the spot.
getting
Here we
ready,
go.
we're doing all this packing, and it's all about strategery and how you place things. So one of the thing was I had to figure out, and where do I pack all of my dad jokes at? I put them in the database.
And on that note, we will call it a day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching along for the 2023 Tire Rack One Lap of America presented by Grassroots Motorsport Magazine. That's Steve Byington. I'm Solomon Rosenthal. Brian Humphreys is somewhere in Columbia, South Carolina. We'll chat with him later, but have a great time. See you on the road.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the time.